McLaren and Mercedes are in trouble as the FIA introduces new rules to ban Flexi-Wings. Newey reveals main reason for leaving Red Bull and Max demands change from Red Bull. Do consider subbing. Let's get into the latest F1 news. The FIA will clamp down on the manner in which Formula One teams can bend their wings after introducing new load tests for both the front and rear wings throughout 2025. From the start of the new F1 season in Australia, the FIA will expand the static deflection tests measuring the rear wings, and it will also be introducing additional front wing tests from the Spanish GP at the start of June. The move presents a U-turn for the FIA, as F1's governing body initially said it was satisfied with its current tests, given the difficulty of imposing further tests that would work well across F1 teams' varying wing designs. However, after careful consideration and following extensive analysis carried out by the FIA single-seater department, post the conclusion of the 24 season, the governing body has decided to take decisive action to ensure fairness in the competition. The FIA has sent out a draft update to the relevant technical directive TD01 in a bid to further address the phenomenon of aerodynamic flexibility. Its main motivation behind this late change of stance is to prevent aeroelasticity from becoming a significant topic of discussion among teams as they prepare for the new season ahead. Following further analysis carried out by the FIA single-seater department after the conclusion of the 2024 season, we are committed to ensure that bodywork flexibility is no longer a point of contention for the 2025 season, the FIA confirmed to Motorsport. As part of this effort, we will be increasing the scope of rear wing tests from the start of the 2025 season, and additional front wing tests being introduced from the Spanish GP. This phased introduction allows teams to adapt to these changes without the immediate need to discard existing components, which is crucial in maintaining operational efficiency and adhering to budget constraints. These adjustments are aimed at further refining the FIA's ability to monitor and enforce bodywork flexibility regulations, thus ensuring a level playing field for all competitors. The overarching goal is to foster fair and exciting racing, which is at the heart of Formula One's ethos. Motorsport understands that the decision to delay the implementation of the front wing clampdown, specifically reducing the flexing allowance from 15mm to 10mm along with other measures, until June is a strategic move designed to assist teams in adjusting to these stricter tests. This delay will prevent teams from having to make hasty decisions regarding their front wings right at the start of the 2025 season, with many teams aiming to stick to their designs from the previous year. The concept of aeroelasticity has taken center stage throughout the 2022 rules cycle, as teams have grappled with the inherent challenges posed by the current generation of Venturi cars. These vehicles have proven to be particularly complex to balance, especially when transitioning between low and high-speed corners. The ability for wings to bend under aerodynamic load and subsequently alter their characteristics has become a key strategy for teams, enabling them to find setup compromises and expand a car's operational window. McLaren, recognized for its successful exploitation of this concept, notably on its championship-winning MCL38, has found considerable advantage in this respect. Yet, the aggressive approach to aeroelasticity has sparked scrutiny from rival teams, particularly Ferrari, who have raised questions regarding the compliance of these flexing rates with the existing regulations. In an interview with Motorsport, Ferrari team boss Fred Vasseur candidly shared insights on the Scuderia's own challenges with flexi-wing designs. He noted that the team had anticipated the FIA would take action against the bending phenomenon earlier, leading them to hold off on their own designs. We were convinced that the FIA would go for the no-go, and it went for the go, so probably we lost 1 or 2 months. It's difficult because with the cost cap, you have to make your choices, Vasseur explained, highlighting the complex dance of strategy and timing involved in the competitive world of F1 racing. The FIA is now acting decisively to eliminate further controversies related to this issue, already having requested teams, including McLaren, to adjust their rear wing designs as an immediate step to uphold fairness in the ensuing racing season. This proactive stance from the FIA is aimed at preserving the integrity of the sport while also balancing the needs and designs of the teams involved. In doing so, the FIA hopes to quell any further unrest concerning aeroelasticity and ensure that all teams compete under the same set of regulations. Red Bull Racing has expressed a willingness to consider developing low-drag rear wings for the 2025 Formula One season, following Max Verstappen's recent comments regarding the team's strategy. Verstappen shared his dissatisfaction with the absence of a bespoke low-drag rear wing design, which he believes negatively impacted the team's performance during specific circuits requiring lower downforce. In the previous season, Red Bull opted not to create a dedicated low-drag rear wing for 2024. Instead, the team modified its existing wing design for certain low downforce tracks, such as Monza and Las Vegas. However, this decision placed the team at a disadvantage at these venues. The adjustments made to optimize top speed began to interfere with overall car performance, indicating that their strategy may have backfired. After finishing fifth in Las Vegas, where he secured his fourth consecutive world title, Verstappen articulated his concerns, stating, "It feels a bit like we throw away 2 race weekends like this because you definitely lose too much on the straights." He emphasized the desire for a lower, more efficient wing design that could add to the car's competitiveness in low downforce scenarios. However, he also recognized the complexities of the situation, noting the impending rule changes and questioning whether it would be practical to pursue a new wing design with only 1 more year left under the current regulations. The budget cap has significantly influenced Red Bull's decision-making process. It compels teams to prioritize their resources strategically, especially considering that the development of the 2026 car project will demand substantial attention and funding. This scenario creates a challenging environment for technical teams as they must balance immediate performance needs with long-term project commitments. Pierre Wash, the technical director of Red Bull, commented on the team's 2025 strategy, articulating a measured approach. He acknowledged the need to explore various options as the team prepares for the Monza round in September, but also cautioned against prematurely committing to a new wing design. "It has to do with the budget cap, but also with what you found," he remarked, emphasizing that merely having a different wing shape does not inherently equate to improved performance. Washa also pointed out that Red Bull may not uncover a low-drag rear wing design that improves their car's overall performance, keeping Verstappen's concerns in mind. He believes there is a delicate balance between being influenced by what rival teams have implemented and maintaining a focus on what suits their specific car design best. "If you find a special shape for Monza and Vegas, but it is 1/10 slower, then why would you take it?" he pondered, reinforcing the notion that strategic decisions should be data-driven and thoroughly evaluated before implementation. This ongoing dialogue within the team reflects the complexities and pressures that teams face in the highly competitive arena of Formula One, particularly as they navigate the implications of budget constraints and evolving technical regulations while striving for excellence on the track. Aston Martin's incoming managing technical partner, Adrian Newey, has delved into the reasons why he left Red Bull and took up a new challenge in Formula One. After an 18-year stint in Milton Keynes, which yielded 8 drivers' titles and 6 constructors' crowns, Newey decided last April to call time on his successful partnership with the team, just 1 year on from signing a new contract. The Briton was known to be uncomfortable with the power struggles at play in the higher spheres of the Red Bull outfit. Beyond the internal dynamics within the team, Newey's departure highlights the broader cultural environment of Formula One, where personal ambition and satisfaction often come into conflict with organizational power struggles. He was also unhappy with team principal Christian Horner telling Autosport in late 2023, "The technical team beneath Newey, led by Pierre Wash, they're doing a wonderful job, and so that they're not reliant on Adrian." This comment revealed a growing momentum within Red Bull to transition from reliance on a single individual, regardless of Newey's monumental contributions, to a more collective approach, potentially impacting Newey's role in a manner he found unsatisfactory. In an interview with Automotor on Sport, Newey revealed he had done some soul-searching as he pondered a decision that would lead him to join Aston Martin a few months later. "I think if you'd said to me 12 months ago, would I be leaving Red Bull and then now ultimately starting again, I'd have said no, you're crazy," Newey commented. "But for various reasons, I felt I wouldn't be true to myself if I stayed at Red Bull." This introspective acknowledgement not only highlights Newey's commitment to authenticity, but also underscores the complexities of professional fulfillment in high-stakes environments where every decision can influence not just personal outcomes, but also the future of the entire team. As he reflected on his departure, Newey expressed, "So the first difficult decision was exactly that. Do I stay or not at Red Bull? So I obviously came to the conclusion that, in being honest to myself, I couldn't." This statement illustrates the internal struggle many professionals face when weighing personal happiness against job security and prestige. Newey acknowledged that he didn't need to earn any more money and he could simply retire and sit on the beach. It was, therefore, a matter of what would provide his life with the most enjoyment. Ultimately, the reality is, I've aspired to be a designer in motor racing from the age of 10 or so, and I've been lucky enough to achieve that. And of course, there's been the odd day where that I haven't enjoyed, but by and large, I've enjoyed pretty much every day of my working life, and so I feel incredibly lucky to have had that position. Such reflections resonate with the broader theme of pursuing passions in life, particularly in high-pressure careers like those found in Formula One. Yet, after years of pushing the envelope in motorsport, Newey soon realized that he indeed wanted to continue working, as I'd get bored doing nothing. The passionate designer noted, "And so if I was going to work, then why not continue doing what I've always wanted to do and have enjoyed doing?" This statement encapsulates his desire not only to stay active, but also to channel his expertise and drive into a new project that ignites his enthusiasm. Newey's departure from Red Bull, which was made official on 1st of May, coincided with a sharp decline in performance for the team. Sergio Perez took his last top 5 finish of the year at the following race in Miami, while Max Verstappen won just 5 of the next 19 Grand Prix on his way to a 4th consecutive world title. This period of declining performance raises questions about the dynamics within the team during Newey's final months and the potential impact of his departure on the structure and efficiency of the engineering team. At the end of last season, Red Bull technical director Pierre Wash revealed to Autosport the main issue the squad had faced. The CFD and simulator data did not match what was happening on the track. As a consequence, car upgrades were not as effective as hoped, notably inducing some balance problems which were exacerbated. Already through the very last stages of 23, the car was starting to become more difficult to drive, Newey explained. Of course, that suited Max. He could handle that, if you like. It didn't suit him, but he could handle it. Checo couldn't. Furthermore, Newey indicated that the growing disparity in performance between teammates Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez became a prominent observation, saying, "So we also started through 23 to see more of a difference in performance between teammates Max and Checo." This analysis points to deeper issues regarding team dynamics and the engineering philosophy adopted by Red Bull, and raises fingers at how individual driver styles might impact overall team performance. It's something I was starting to become concerned about, but not many other people in the organization seem to be very concerned about it. This sentiment elucidates a critical gap in communication and awareness within the team. Newey's insights suggest a potential disconnect that could be detrimental to the collective performance capabilities of the team. And from what I can see from the outside, but I don't know, his analysis that Red Bull kept going in that same direction is corroborated by Washe, who admitted, "I think we spotted it, but after that the car was quick and we didn't want to modify it massively. When we came back to Europe and were challenged more by McLaren, then it started to become more and more evident that it was one of the biggest issues for us to go quicker." This realization underlines the often tricky balance between achieving immediate competitive success and instituting necessary long-term changes that might lead to sustained performance improvements. Newey will now join Aston Martin on the 1st of March when his lengthy gardening leave ends, and he sees some parallels between this new project and the youthful Red Bull outfit he joined in 2006. In stark contrast with Williams and McLaren, two F1 powerhouses Newey also had much success with previously. Red Bull was very different in as much as that was ashes of Jaguar, a team that had never really achieved very much, the Englishman pointed out. And so it wasn't just the design side, it was also developing the infrastructure, the communications, the methodology, the team spirit. As he prepares to embark on this new chapter with Aston Martin, Newey's rich experience and historical perspective on cultivating team dynamics will undoubtedly be invaluable. He added thoughtfully, "Aston, of course, I don't know yet, because I haven't started, but I suspect it may be a little bit more on the Red Bull side of things." This forward-looking statement reflects both optimism and the inherent uncertainties that accompany transitions within high-level motorsport teams, setting the stage for what could be another transformative chapter in Newey's illustrious career. Won't somebody think of the poor volunteers? Nobody has chafed so publicly about the absurdity and iniquity of relying on unpaid officials to do the FIA's heavy lifting than its president, Mohammed Ben Sulayem. Indeed, last year he announced the formation of a new officials department to instill professionalism in the next generation of sports officials. In this sentiment, he was backed up by FIA single-seater director Nicholas Tombazis, who recently told Autosport, "It's probably getting a bit unfair to just rely on people to do it out of their good heart, and that's what we have now. We want to go to a more professional body in the future. That's not to exclude volunteers, but it's to have a body that can spend the Monday morning after a race analyzing every single decision, making sure it was reached correctly, seeing what could be improved, etc." Laudable though this is, in racing's here and now stewarding is an unpaid, expenses-only proposition. And those expenses probably don't stretch as far as wine from near the bottom of the list. For those poor benighted stewards placing their heads in the proverbial lion's mouth of Formula One, this entails striking off a week of their lives in service of a pursuit in which it's impossible to get every decision right. Not only that, one has to contend with the inevitable high-profile consequences, being targeted for abuse by people who should know better, leading on people who don't. By this, I refer to those team principals who disingenuously huff and puff through their dog whistles to trigger the nattering nabobs of toxic fandom. One official who has declared themselves done with the whole shebang told an Autosport colleague that there was only one equivalent, i.e. unpaid, job that is harder: refereeing a school football match with all the ghastly parents braying and hee-hawing from the touchlines and threatening to flush your head down the toilet. With this in mind, it seems a trifle peculiar on the one hand to play the smallest violin in the world for the unpaid volunteers, and on the other to drop one from the roster for having the temerity to have a paid side hustle. Autosport understands that the incompatible media role that prompted the FIA to evict Johnny Herbert from its pool of Grand Prix stewards was his paid partnership with the sports betting site BetSafe. This is, it must be said, a grubby trade. In common with much of the online betting industry, including the likes of Paddy Power, Bet365, and William Hill, BetSafe is registered in Malta for the avoidance of paying the proper amount of corporation tax. Such outfits routinely approach journalists and/or well-known media figures for content or comment with which to garnish their online offering or share via social media for greater reach, especially if it's a spicy hot take. It's understood that the FIA president took a particularly dim view of Herbert commenting on stewarding decisions in his capacity as a pundit. Certainly, some might interpret this as at best tone deaf, at worst a conflict of interest, especially given Herbert's presence as a steward at the Mexican Grand Prix, where Max Verstappen was penalized twice. Such decisions are guaranteed to cause shots to be fired, even if the people responsible for making the calls express their reasoning solely through the medium of the FIA's official documentation. Venture an opinion about it in public, and the situation escalates towards DEFCON 1. So, has Herbert been dropped because having a profile is fundamentally incompatible with acting as a steward? If so, we have a problem, since ex-drivers axiomatically have a profile. And if you dig back through the heaving drawers of this issue's history, ex-drivers were sought out and recruited as stewards because contemporary drivers demanded it. Only they, went the reasoning, properly understood the intricate dynamics of racing. Or is the real issue that an official expressing their personal opinion on a betting site isn't a good look for the FIA? If so, I respectfully suggest that this matter should have been taken up earlier, let's say around the end of last October, and nipped in the proverbial bud rather than becoming a focal point of a slow news week at the back end of January. Because the fundamental questions surrounding Herbert's many hats haven't changed between then and now. At any point during the intervening period, it would have been simple to communicate sensible guidelines over what paid work is considered incompatible with voluntary stewarding. I realize, of course, that the president was busy playing Spin the P45 with various paid officials before the end of last season, so perhaps this was the cause of the delay. F1 stewarding presently resides in limbo, while the FIA is taking steps towards professionalizing the officials, and the Grand Prix Drivers Association wants the stewarding panel to consist of paid professionals. The two bodies are at loggerheads over who has to dip into their pockets for this luxury. Meanwhile, a fundamental truth goes seemingly unacknowledged. Stewarding is now the subject of so much toxic sentiment that most sensible people wouldn't do it even if you paid them. Perhaps we should ask for volunteers? Oh,